Thank you for staying with us. In Search of Shadows is a book that delves in and out of Egyptian mythology, fantasy, and science, encouraging minority youth to enjoy and pursue STEM careers. Joining us now is Bronx-born author Blair Hampton. Welcome, Blair. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. It's a delight to be here.
Yes. So can we start off by learning who is Blair Hampton?
Blair Hampton is a South Bronx native. I grew up in the Highbridge section. Luckily, I know, I grew up on the 13th floor in an apartment building that overlooked the Major Deegan Expressway, the Highbridge, and just everything in my neighborhood. And I used to sit for hours thinking of stories about the people I saw, things I experienced, and all of that is woven into all of my stories.
How did you become a self-published author?
Well, I always knew that I was going to be a writer. When I was in the first grade at CES 126, I took my first creative writing class, and it was there I learned the structure of a story, and it dawned on me that all the stories that I created in my head, I can put it down on paper and share it with people. So the past 30 or so years since that day, I've been pursuing a career actively. And everything I've done has been in search of fulfilling my destiny.
In Search of Shadows. Linking it all into your current book. So let's talk about that, your book that you've just released.
Yes. Well, I love science fiction. I love history, especially African history, Greek mythology, Egyptian mythology. There's a lot of themes that seem to reoccur through all of these stories. And I thought it would be an excellent way to incorporate that into a story by writing about a 13-year-old named Danny Patton who wants to be the world's greatest inventor just like his father. The problem is he's 13 and a lot of times his curiosity leads him into dark places in search of shadows. And the book is pretty much a metaphor for doing what you need to do in order to fulfill your goals, but realizing the consequences and the pitfalls that can happen in pursuit of your dreams and how to always find the light at the other side. So it's just a classic story of good versus evil, and it takes place in New York City, my borough of the Bronx, and it has a lot of New York history, which I'm also obsessed with.
Nice. So anybody that's reading it can relate to the book, the story itself.
Yes, the smells, the sounds of the city, the different ethnicities. The South Bronx is full of so many cultures. I've lived in a lot of different places, and no place is like the Bronx. And I love talking about the Bronx, and it's funny because when you meet people from outside of the city, they're like, oh, all people from New York is all they have to talk about is New York, but it's the love of the borough and the love of the city.
You gotta represent.
Yes.
So it's also, the book is also, In Search of Shadows, is also like an allude to STEM careers. Like you're talking about STEM careers in the story. Can you tell me about that as well?
Yes, definitely. I do believe that STEM is the future. We've made so many technological advancements, but I don't think the opportunities exist in abundance for minority youth or people who grew up in New York City housing, such as myself, to have access to these careers. So I hope that by talking about it, even if it's through, you know, an imaginary invention that will never probably see the light of day, that it encourages kids to build their own, to use their own resources, upcycle, recycle, do whatever they need to do in order to make the world a better place.
Right. And what is your future work looking like? What are you working on next?
I'm working on the sequel to In Search of Shadows. I'm doing some merchandising things on my website, and I hope to make this into a worldwide brand where I can get kids interested in pursuing STEM careers, have writing workshops, and just spark that little hope, that little flame. I know there were a lot of times when I was growing up, I read so many books, and I took a message from each and every one of them, and I hope someone reads my books and gets the message that they can do anything as long as they put their mind to it and stay focused on the positive.
Where can the audience find In Search of Shadows?
I am available on Amazon. I'm getting ready to get through some distribution channels so they can also be offered in bookstores.
Are you seeking to do some kind of like appearances in the Bronx as well to talk to kids and like go to schools and stuff like that?
I'm working on that. I'm trying to get back to my elementary school. It's the Marjorie Dunbar Elementary School, and it's really important for me to go back and speak to the kids there because that's where I got my first taste of writing, and it's important to get back to the community.
Absolutely, for sure. And what else? So when you talk to kids about STEM careers, they may not understand, you know, like at a young age, but it's very important to kind of like think about the future and think about things that they can develop on their own. And I absolutely think that's possible, and you're doing that through your book. So thank you for doing that, Blair.
Thank you so much.
Anything else you want to tell the kids and all the people?
I would just like to say never, ever, ever get up. The road to publication has been full of ups and downs, a lot of rejections, but I think anyone from the Bronx can attest we have so much resilience and determination, and as long as you stay focused on your goals, you can accomplish anything.
I definitely want to talk a little bit about that, the road to self-publication, how difficult that was for you as well. Coming from the Bronx and, you know, not getting any handouts or anything, how did you do it?
Oh, it was rough. I had to hustle. Originally, I went to school, I was pursuing a career in medical, and always in the back of my mind, I knew I was going to be a writer. I just felt like I had to support myself, and it's really hard to be a successful author. And I always prepared myself to go to school and then make a career and then be able to write in my free time.
Right.
But I went to college and I got into the real world and started working, and I realized I'm working so hard for someone else's dream. So if I can apply that same determination and hustle for my own dreams, then I can do anything. And then, of course, I got my first publishing credit. I just went out on my own. I went through ads looking for people who were interested in freelance writing, and I became an editorial assistant at a national magazine. So from there, I started getting more freelance work, going to events, doing interviews, and I really put forth the effort. It was a lot of sacrifice. There was a lot of nights where I wasn't absolutely sure I was doing the best thing for my career, but I knew it was the right thing.
So inspirational. Thank you, Blair, for joining us today.
Thank you.
So In Search of Shadows is now available on Amazon and ebooks. For more information, you can visit Blair's website at insearchofshadows.wordpress.com, the link below, or visit her on Twitter at Blair Hampton 7. Stay tuned for more Open right after this.